Hey. Time for an out of this world story from rSpace. Today on rSpace, this is the story of a man who discovered that his wife wasn't just cheating. She had a whole support team, coaching staff, and spiritual cheer section helping her to do it. And instead of quietly suffering, he chose violence. Specifically church-appropriate, microphone-free, balcony-projected violence. It's giving, if my life's going up in flames, we all are getting warm. My mother-in-law helped my wife cheat on me because I wasn't good enough for her. I exposed their sinful behavior to their church family. My wife has been cheating on me. I found this out very recently, and I'm rather shocked at how calm I feel in the aftermath of finding that out. Not only has she been cheating on me, but I discovered that my very own mother-in-law has been playing a very big part in her cheating on me. It doesn't sound real to me when I read it out like that. But if you know some of the things that have happened in the course of us being married to one another, and even before, when we were dating, this will make a lot more sense. I really just need someone to talk to about all of this, so this is my first choice. I'm 32 male now, but I met Georgia, 31 female, when we were both 18. We were both in our last year of high school, and our high school football teams played against each other. I went to her school, spotted her, and it felt like I instantly fell in love. So I went to talk to her, even though our schools were opponents that night. She was super sweet, and from there, I took her number and said that I'd keep in touch, which I did. It was easy for me to get her number, but to tell her my feelings took a while, about a full year after we met. However, it went perfectly. She told me she had felt the same way about me for so long, and from there, we started to date. She went to college pretty quickly, and even though it took me a while, I eventually went to college too. I proposed to her when I was 26 and she was 25, and she said yes. We were engaged for less than a year before we finally got married for real. However, before we got to that point, I already knew her mother hated me. I don't know why, I was always incredibly polite, but she just didn't bother with being polite or nice to me. She treated me like I was below her daughter, and it was only until much later on that I realized that was what she felt. It's not like her family is particularly rich or has some unique heritage. They're regular upper middle class people. My family certainly didn't classify as that, but we never truly struggled, which is something that I'm thankful for. It still didn't seem enough for her though. She wanted the very best for her daughter, not what her daughter wanted. I can understand parents not approving of partners when those partners have traits that are obviously bad, or if they feel like that person isn't going to do much with their future. But that's never been the case for me. I've always been driven, and even though I'm not where I want to be, I'm heading there. Throughout the time we were dating, and even after we got married, her mom has never seemed to be happy for the two of us. She talked about past boyfriends that her daughter had in my presence. She'll talk about how one of them ended up playing football, or another one runs his own business. I had spoken to Georgia on many occasions telling her to get her mom in line, because if I had to be the one to do it, it would end up getting very messy. She told me that she had spoken to her mom several times, but even after that, there would still be incidents. Her dad was a cool guy. He didn't act the way mom acted, and he seemed to like me, which I think was enough for me to actually stick around. If both of her parents were the same, I promised that I would have been out of there. So, with everything that I've said so far, I think it is clear that her mom pretty much hates me, and if we ended up divorced, it would be everything that she had hoped for. It's also clear that she'll do what she can to make sure that her daughter ends up with someone who she deems to be better than I am. That's exactly why my mother-in-law helped my wife cheat on me. I found out mostly through being very suspicious of a scene that I walked in on. I had dropped Georgia off at her parents' place, and I was meant to come back around and pick her up. We only have one car, not because of money, but because she just doesn't know how to drive. I got the usual coldness from her mom when I dropped her off, and I expected that when I went back to get her. However, that coldness wasn't there. She kept smiling, and it seemed pretty smug to me. When I walked in, there was someone else there. It was a man, and they were all talking like they were familiar with one another. However, when I walked in, I noticed that Georgia had less to say. The guy was still talking though. He glanced my way when I came in. My mother-in-law introduced the guy as Derek, and she mentioned how he has owned a few gyms and was one of Georgia's childhood friends. I introduced myself to him, making it clear that I was her husband. I said it not in a marking my territory way, but simply because it was a natural detail to add since he knew her, and that was my connection to her. His response was that he knew, and that it was nice to meet me. When we left, I asked Georgia why her mom had been acting so odd. She had been smiling at me smugly, instead of being a witch like she usually was. She claimed that she hadn't noticed that, and I noticed that Georgia herself was acting weird. She wasn't as chatty as she usually was. I asked if something was wrong, but she said that there wasn't. She claimed she was perfectly fine. After that day, over the next month, Georgia went to her parents' place 4 times, which was a lot more than usual. Those times, she told me that she was just going to take an Uber or get her dad to drop her off, so I didn't need to worry. That was better for me because her parents' place was about 40 minutes away. I noticed that every time she came back, she just didn't seem right. It seemed like there was something on her mind, but she was doing a good job of concealing whatever it was. As usual, I asked what was up, but she claimed there was nothing, and I got tired of that, so I left her alone. I asked her why she was going to her parents' place more often than she usually did, because most months it was once or twice, and suddenly she was there almost every week. "I can't go and see my parents? Is there something suspicious about my visiting my parents?" was her response. It seemed way too charged, especially because my tone was curious. It didn't have a drop of accusation in it because my mind wasn't even thinking of anything weird. I had barely thought of the Derek guy since the day I had seen him. At that point, I still had zero suspicion of cheating. The thing is, her response, which was more defensive than I expected, was what made me think that there might have been something more going on. I remembered that the last time I was there, I saw Derek, and I saw her mom smiling like she knew something that I didn't. For someone who basically hated me, I knew that she would only look smug if she was winning in some capacity. My wife had been going there a lot, and I started to wonder whether Derek was there every time that she went there. I realized that it made sense because her mom didn't like me and certainly wouldn't be respectful of our marriage if she found someone who she thought was a better fit for her daughter. That was when it occurred to me that my mother-in-law was probably arranging meetings to set my wife up with Derek, or maybe even other prospects that she was cycling. I knew that I was going to have to figure out what was happening. The next time that she wanted to visit her folks, I told her to let me drive. She was rather adamant that I didn't need to worry about it, but I insisted that I wanted to, especially because I had some errands to run. There was no way that she would be able to stop me from coming unless she really wanted to seem like she was hiding something, so she gave in, and I drove her there. When I arrived, I noticed a car that I didn't recognize, but when I got inside, I didn't see anyone unusual. I was fairly certain that the last time I had been there, I had seen the same model of car, so it made me assume it was Derek's, and he was somewhere else in the house. Since my business is usually only outside, the living room, or the kitchen, it's not like I could have searched the entire house. Her mom was still acting smug and talking with me innocently, but in a very patronizing way. I couldn't take it for much longer, so I left as soon as I could. However, I took a picture of the license plate of the car that was parked there. When I got home, I looked up a PI and hired him on the spot. I sent over the license plate number because all I really needed was a name. He confirmed that it belonged to a Derek, and that was all I needed to see. I refused to believe that the 2 times I had gone there that Derek had also been there was a coincidence. I knew that there was something happening, and I was going to have to find out by myself. I assumed that she was being set up with Derek and she was actually going along with it. That was my guess. That's why she kept going there happily. When I got a chance to check her phone, I found out that it was actually somehow worse than that. I wanted to lose my mind when I looked through her messages with her mother. They were talking about Derek. My mother-in-law asked Georgia if she was sure yet, and Georgia said that she couldn't tell, but she was warming up to him. My mother-in-law was very happy to see that. "See, I told you that you'd like him." It was exactly as I thought it was. She'd been trying to set her up with Derek. In a flash, it was so much worse, because I came across a line where her mom asked, "But he was good, right? How big is he down there?" I almost didn't believe that I read that right, but I knew that I had when Georgia answered that he was great and perfectly sized. I had to try and read to make sure that it wasn't talking about me. I tried, but it was 100% about Derek, and that killed me. I expected to just figure out what was going on, especially around Derek. I had just wanted it to be that her enthusiastic mother was trying to set her up with someone, but I found out that she had slept with him. When I looked through her chats with Derek himself, it was even worse. It wasn't even that it was all sexual. Those parts were there for sure, but what really hurt was the fact that there were so many parts where it sounded like how we used to talk. To me, it looked like Georgia really enjoyed talking with him. She was already pushing me aside, and I had no idea that that was happening, because there's no way she can have space for the 2 of us. It hurt me so bad, because I don't even know where to go from here. It's one thing to know that your wife is sleeping with someone else, but to discover that not only is she sleeping with someone else, but she's also growing closer to them, likely with the plan to divorce you and marry the new guy. It hurts. It hurts a lot. And what makes it even worse is that when I divorce her, it's going to be a win. It's going to be a win for her and her mom, because it only frees her up to be with Derek. Her mom never liked me anyway, so she'll probably do a backflip. How did I ever end up in such a crappy position? I did everything right. How did I end up here? I wonder if I should have let a bad mother-in-law be a deal breaker for me. Maybe that was my big mistake in this whole thing. I should have just left her at that point. My reasoning was that her mom wasn't going to be here forever. I didn't want to let her go of a true love because of someone trying to frustrate it. But in this case, I guess it wasn't true love if it's so easy for the person I call my wife to move on and sleep with someone else. Regardless of it, it's a good choice or not. I'm going to end things. I think I should focus on what is best for me and not what the other side considers to be a win. I feel so alone in this because my mother-in-law has finally won, and instead of my wife being with me in this, she's on the other side. Oh well, I guess life sucks sometimes. Update. Hello everyone. I know this update has been long overdue. A lot has been going on, and to be honest, I pretty much forgot that I made the first post. I've been so busy with life. I've finally gotten to a point where I can breathe again, and even though it isn't all sunshine and roses for me, I know that I'll be better. All I really need is time. I divorced Georgia. I had to, and that's been finalized. But before I get into that, I'm sure there's some interest in exactly how I confronted her. A part of me wanted to confront her along with my mother-in-law, but I realized that that wasn't going to help me in any way. My mother-in-law would just end up triggering me, and I didn't want to lose my cool. On one of the days when she came back from her parents' place, I told her that I knew exactly what she was doing there. She froze and looked back at me suddenly, and she asked me what I was talking about. I told her that I had been ignorant for a long time, but I knew the truth at that point, and I just needed her to be honest with me. I knew all about Derek, and I simply wanted to know why she had decided to cheat on me with him. But she said that she hadn't cheated on me. She said that she knew it was wrong, but she entertained talking to him simply to get her mom off her back. I told her that I knew that that wasn't the truth. I let her know that I had read her messages with her mom and with Derek, so I knew the full extent of things. She didn't have much to say at that point because her defense fell apart in a second. I shook my head. I reminded her of all the promises that we had made together, the places we wanted to travel, the things we wanted to achieve, the vows we had made. It hurt me so bad because I realized how real a split was going to be in that moment. At that time, I realized how little I could trust her if she didn't care enough about all those things that she chose to replace me with someone else. She was crying a lot. She told me that she hadn't meant to hurt me. It truly did start as her just trying to please her mother, but she realized that Derek was actually a good guy. It didn't make her love me any less, and she wished that I could know how conflicted she has felt because she felt stuck between the two of us. I told her that she could stop talking at that point. I believed that she might have been being honest there, but it was not honesty that I wanted to hear. That she loved both of us at the same time? How pathetic is that? It just made me angry. I let her know that we were going to split. She started to beg, but I told her it was the last thing I wanted to hear. She was split between the two of us, and I had helped her make her decision. She could have him. She had slept with him already, and it would make her mom happy, so there was no reason for her not to go for it. At that point, she was bawling. She actually realized in that moment that she had made the wrong choice, and I was glad. Those weren't crocodile tears. I helped her pack, and I told her that she could go to her parents' house. Her mom would be super happy to take her in. She left the house that night. Fast forward to the outcome of the divorce. Even though I kicked her out of the house, she got it. I got my cut, which is at least a nice consolation. There's no alimony either, which I'm fortunate for. I just hate the fact that my life has been uprooted from a house that I had come to love. But perhaps it is better that I don't live there anymore. Too many memories. I eventually got settled somewhere else, and when I did, I just had a sudden urge to be a bad person. I hadn't planned for revenge, but I wanted to do something to at least return some of the pain that I felt. My plan was extremely simple, and to be honest, quite crude, but I didn't want to do anything more than that. I didn't want to do anything that would turn into more than it had to be. It was simple for me. I turned up at the church that her family went to. I waited through most of the service, sitting in the gallery, and I spotted her and her parents there. A second after the service was over, I stood up, and at the top of my voice, I named her and her mother while pointing to them, and told the entire church that they had teamed up for Georgia to cheat on me. There was a loud murmur, and everyone turned to look at me, but I kept going. As briefly as I could, I explained that I was her ex-husband, and her mother-in-law had convinced her to replace me with another man, and that she had slept with that man while still married to me. At that point, some people tried to get me to sit down, but I wasn't going to be overpowered so easily. I repeated the details, just in case some of them might not have heard it well enough. I made sure the church knew that the two of them couldn't be trusted and that they were sinful people. I'm not even religious, but her family really is, and I knew that was going to hurt them a lot. Her father was unfortunate collateral damage in all of this, but I didn't dwell too long on that. It didn't take long before I was pretty much restrained by a bunch of people trying to bundle me out of the church. As they brought me out, I shouted for people to check the bulletin board, since I had pasted the printed screenshots of her conversations with her mom. They basically carried me off the property, and I stayed there on the sidewalk. I saw a few people check the bulletin board, and interestingly, one or two older women came to talk to me to ask what had happened. I assumed those were the women best known for gossip. I explained everything to them in detail. When some of the men saw them talking to me, they aggressively shooed me away. I would have stuck around, since at that point, I was on the sidewalk, but I realized that I had made enough of a scene. In fact, I felt pretty strongly ashamed of myself at that point, so I left. Her mother-in-law called me about 5 times and I refused to pick up. She made her intentions known on the messages she sent me, cursing me out pretty viciously. I told her that she wasn't acting very Christ-like, and that just set her off even more. She claimed that I cooked up lies and I had ruined the reputations she spent years building. I didn't respond to that. Funny enough, it gave me just a little more energy to get my revenge, so I added all of her family members who I knew to a group chat and I sent the evidence I had there, with an explanation. Immediately after, I left the chat and blocked all of them. I didn't need to witness the aftermath to know that it was going to be messy. Her mom has never liked her reputation being stained, and I had done it pretty well at that point. Georgia never messaged me again, and I don't mind that. She didn't like those I did. She has Derek to go to, if she cares enough. Her mother-in-law will get the son-in-law she dreamed of. All the two of them had to endure was some public shaming. And how bad can that be in comparison? Coordinating meetups, giving performance reviews, asking about size metrics? Like, ma'am, calm down, please. And Georgia acting shocked when you confront her? Please. She had all the conviction of a kid caught with chocolate all over their face, insisting they didn't touch the cake. Then she hits you with the, "I still loved you" excuse. Get lost. Your mother-in-law being furious afterward is also hilarious. She can help orchestrate adultery, but the second someone embarrasses her in public, she acts like you've personally betrayed the Lord himself. What would you do if the people who vowed to love you teamed up with the people who vowed to tolerate you to sabotage your entire life? Thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.